Well, voters in the state of Georgia will take to the polls for the second time in as many months for a vital runoff. Almost nothing separates the Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock and the Trump-backed Republican Herschel Walker during the midterms. Joining me live is former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Fellow at the US Studies Centre, Mick Mulvaney. We are not going to talk about the Royals with you, Mick Mulvaney, because as we just heard, Americans apparently don't care all that much, but they do care about what is going on in Georgia. And I want to talk not just about Georgia, Mick, but what it has done and what it might mean for Trump's popularity. What are you seeing?
Yeah, hey, Laura, it's good to see you again. I still think we're probably more interested in the next season of Ted Lasso than either Georgia or the Harry and Meghan thing. But maybe I'm wrong about that. No, it's a big deal for Trump. It's a big deal for Republicans. This is a seat that they should win. This is a state that's controlled by Republicans. It's a governor Republican. The state legislature is Republican. It should be a Republican state. And it's a state they lost in the Senate race twice in 2020, two different races there that Republicans lost. And they're on the verge of losing a third. So it is a big deal for Donald Trump. He is not going to the state. He did not arrange last-minute rallies in support of Herschel Walker. So I think everybody's just sort of made their bets and we're waiting to see where the casts fall on Tuesday.
Yeah, he really needs Walker to win in Georgia, I guess, going into the next presidential election. But there's just been a poll, I think, published by Axios, and it shows that Ron DeSantis is basically 20 points ahead of Trump. How concerning is that?
Very concerning. In fact, that same poll has DeSantis beating Trump by 20 in a primary and then Trump losing to Biden in a hypothetical general election in 2024. Those are both really bad numbers for Trump. It's easier for him to fix the number vis-a-vis DeSantis in a Republican primary because that number assumes a hypothetical head-to-head race. As you and I have talked about before, I think Ron DeSantis could beat Donald Trump in a head-to-head race, but it's unlikely to be that. It's probably 5 or 6 people against Donald Trump, and the way the system is set up, then he's the likely Republican nominee. No, I think the more troubling thing for him now is that losing to Joe Biden by 10 points and why it makes Georgia so important. Georgia is a swing state. Again, it should be Republican. They've lost the last couple of races there. If Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate loses in Georgia next Tuesday, it means that Donald Trump loses next Tuesday in Georgia. And he desperately needs to win to show that he could win swing states again in a general election in 2024. So no one has more to win or lose than Donald Trump. And again, it's going to be very, very close. I think Warnock probably pulls it out by 0.5 percentage point because that's the way the other 3 races have gone.
Amazing. Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see Trump's reaction. He's got a good way of spinning things. Don't know how he's going to spin this one, but he certainly didn't take your advice. Go to Georgia, base himself there in the lead up to this runoff. I think it's really interesting, Mick, just from an observational point of view, that he hasn't let his ego get the better of him. He hasn't gone to do a rally there and speaking in front of an adoring crowd. Perhaps he's starting to listen to some of his advisors. What do you reckon?
It's possible. It's also possible that he thinks that Herschel's going to lose and he's looking to distance himself from Herschel. Keep in mind the excuse that Trump could use if Herschel Walker loses in Georgia is that he didn't get involved and that the other Senate leaders did. Mitch McConnell did. The more establishment wing of the party was involved and has been involved for Herschel Walker in that Georgia runoff. So Trump might be trying to distance himself. He's a master at it. He claims to, always doesn't get any credit for wins and always gets blamed for losses, but he's really, really good at avoiding blame for losses and taking credits for wins that he wasn't really involved with. So listen, the first things first, we have the election. Then next week, I think we'll have some very interesting sort of deconstructing who's to blame and what happened in that state.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Look, he's had some interesting dinners. He at least hasn't responded to that call from Kanye West to be Kanye West's running mate at the next presidential election. But he's had some pretty interesting dinners with him and some others. What's going on there?
He had a dinner with a white supremacist, which generally is perceived as a bad thing. He blames it on Kanye West. He says that Kanye asked him to come to dinner and to bring a few friends, and apparently no one asked Kanye who his friends were. So he brought a prominent white supremacist to Mar-a-Lago to have dinner with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is claiming not to know who that young man was. His name is Nick Fuentes. There's no reason to know that. I believe Donald Trump when he says he didn't know who the gentleman was or who the person was, but that doesn't excuse it. And to be an ex-president of the United States having a private dinner with a prominent white supremacist is a really, really bad look, and it continues to add to that burden that you and I talked about the voters just getting tired of all the trappings, all the baggage that Donald Trump brings. They don't want to explain to their friends why they're supporting somebody who had dinner with a white supremacist.
Yeah, drama-free, it seems. Americans want the next couple of years. We'll see how that goes, though. Mick Mulvaney, a pleasure to talk to you. See you soon.
Thanks, Laura.